Okay, everybody, let's take a look at the S&P 500, what I think is going to be happening as we move into, well, I'll do a little review just real quick of what happened, and then talk a little bit about where I think we're heading into Sunday night, Monday-ish, maybe even Tuesday. So what we're looking at here is a daily chart. We can see that this is the S&P 500 futures, by the way, just in case everybody's wondering. E-mini S&P 500, okay? A lot of you already know, but for those that don't know, I trade a lot of the MES. So that's it, E-micro futures. This is the TOS platform by TD Ameritrade for those that are interested in knowing. Okay, down here at the bottom, we can see the MACD's continues to be very strong, right? The gap between the fast line and the slow line is, I call this the Panama Canal. You could sail a freighter ship through that gap. So the stock market's obviously very strong, and it's been strong for quite a while. Back up the top of the candlestick chart, you can see right here on that day, which is the 15th. That was the 15th of October right there. Went above the 50-day moving average and has been above it the whole time. So very strong S&P 500. Now, I will caution that I think we're a couple things, just a little word of caution. I do think we're probably at the middle of a cycle here. That's what this yellow line is. If you want to know what the cycle is, that's this cycle right here. So let's see, that cycle started approximately on 10/13 and ends over here. Let me see if I can get this thing to... Yeah, started on 10/12 and ends on 11/16, approximately. Okay, give or take a little bit of room on each side, right? So I would caution that, we could get a price stall up here. We might even see some decline. But for right now, the stock market looks very, very strong. The last time we had a touch down into the S&P 500, of course, was before we got into the quad witching correction, 5-6% correction in that area. Okay, for right now, pretty strong. Continue to see some on the SMI here. We did get a little bit of a dip here and a little bit of a crossover. So in a moment here, I'm going to show you the hourly chart, which could really lend some help on just kind of some more short term going into Sunday night, Monday, Tuesday. Really important, since we tend to be a little bit, I don't want to say elevated, but we have made some distance between the 4603 all-time high and the 50-day moving average here. There's some distance there, right? Got some decent distance, and usually, there does come a point where it's going to want to come back down and touch the 50. So just keep that in mind as we move forward. Let me switch over to the hourly, and I'll show you the 20-day 1 hour. So you can see we touched that. Really was overnight. This was back on Thursday night. The futures open up at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time here in the great state of Texas. And it pretty much tracked down the whole night. I think that was till about, 6 or 7 in the morning. 7 in the morning. And was bouncing along on that 50-hour. That's the 50-hour moving average. Kind of came along, bounced along it. And then, of course, at the 8 o'clock open for the intraday was a very, very strong day on Friday. And we only had a little bit of down, which is typical at the lunchtime break, and 1 o'clock. You tend to see that happen. Happens quite a bit. It may move around. Sometimes it'll be a little bit earlier in the day. Sometimes a little later. You get those couple candlesticks in there that are down, but... So I would just say that, looking at the hourly chart, that there's probably a decent chance you're going to get some pullback in pricing on an hourly chart, simply because, we can see the Big Daddy up here is elevated, the SMI is elevated, okay. The MACD, of course, showing a lot of strength here for the hourly. But, just going back and looking at times where we get elevated, back here, though this ran pretty long for a good 3/4 of a day. When I say a day, I mean a full 24-hour period. And eventually, a little bit of a correction to come down, came down, touched the 50 moving average right there, and then kind of stayed on there on that whole next day. That's what I'm saying. Once you begin to see the Big Daddy tapers off and the SMI tapers off, you might get a day and a half, whatever, of downward price action. You can see it rode along that 50-hour moving average, but eventually, gave it up here late on last Wednesday, and broke through the 50-hour moving average and stayed below it all through the night. And then, that's probably the 8 o'clock hour. Yeah, 8 o'clock hour, it came up and broke it back above it. So those are the kind of things you just want to be aware of. Intraday, it's good to look at the hourly chart so you can get a feel for, okay, are we going to have some kind of price pullback? And I think that's very possible going into Sunday night, maybe. It's hard to say for sure, because sometimes you'll get up in this area like you did back here, but it'll ride out, for, gosh, what is that, like 15 hours there? Let me clear the screen, a little messy here. 3, 6, 9, 12, yeah. 15, yeah, about 18 hours before it started to pull back and eventually came down and touched the 50 there, and then eventually broke below it a little bit and then just did its thing. So even though I see that we're elevated here, and let me just see what we got going here. 414, 415 on the Big Daddy. Back here we had like 421. Yeah. And what was this one? That was 361, so no big deal there. 376. Yeah, this is elevated on an hourly rate. On an hourly chart, 415 is pretty elevated. And let's see. Back there, I'm just looking down at the SMI. 68.57. Over here we had 67, so yeah, okay. Back here when we got that 421, we're in the 72. So where are we at right now? 67. Back here was 68. So it looks like there's a little bit more breathing room here on the SMI. Could potentially go up a little bit further before we see. So I would think, just my best guess here, Sunday night, it could stay elevated. We could start seeing the hourly pullback right away Sunday night going into Monday. It could start tracking down like that. It might just stay strong all the way for like another 18 hours. Okay. But I suspect that sometimes these pullbacks will happen at night. And of course, intraday, there's a lot of strength intraday. Right? Sometimes you'll get that overnight is where the pullback happens, and so it never shows up intraday, and everybody is none the wiser. Okay. But sometimes that's not the case. Like back over here, when it finally, when weakness, you could tell over here that things were getting peaky, right? And when weakness finally showed up, well, it showed up in the middle of intraday, right? It showed up at 10 a.m. So getting back over to this, it showed up at 10 a.m. right in the middle of intraday trading, okay? And then it was weak, above the 50-hour, but eventually gave it up, right, guys? And just eventually crossed over the 50-hour and came back, stayed below it for quite a while, and made its way back up. So I think a lot of people don't understand, the ebb and flow of the marketplace, in smaller time frames. They don't really have a sense for how the price is going to ebb and flow because they're just looking at daily charts. And then some guys are trading a 5-minute chart, so they don't have a good sense. They're just 5-minute guys, and I'm not saying they never look at other charts, but that's their world, right? The 5-minute, the 1 minute, the 10-minute, the 15, and they get stuck there, and they don't, So my best guess is I'll know more Sunday night. If it starts to pull back Sunday night all the way and then does the 8 o'clock ripper, 8 a.m. ripper, then that's fine. That's going to be kind of our tell that this peakness we're kind of seeing here in the hourly is, okay, it kind of gave some up, and we're going to probably continue to go higher, okay? But if we see another 18 hours of pretty good strength, even overnight, even if overnight stays flat, and then Monday is strong, Then I would say, okay, get ready for some pullback like Tuesday-ish. You know, it won't necessarily be some big, huge daily pullback, but it'll be an hourly pullback. And it might last, you know, you might get something like this, right, guys, where it lasts like this long right here. Okay, which is a good day and a half, right? Even longer. They kind of lasted all the way over to here, right? So that's kind of like a half a day there, not even quite, because I'm talking 24 hours now, but okay, a quarter day there, a full day here. It's kind of weak. Okay, this is kind of a mixed day. Though intraday was really strong. But I'm not just talking about intraday. I'm talking the bigger picture here, right? On an hourly chart, right? And then it shows weakness all through the night. Well, most people don't care about nighttime. They're trading the SPY, so they don't care about this, you know, 5 o'clock to 7 a.m. stuff. Okay, so they're none the wiser. You know, they don't care. But I trade futures and I take advantage of the market. You know, 23 hours a day, 5 days a week. So to me, looking at the ebb and flow of the hourly chart is really important because it really helps me understand what's going to happen during the intraday so I can take advantage of those big price movements, okay? But think about it way back here, guys, and I'm going to finish up this video with this because I've already given you pretty much what I think is going to happen. You know, if we see just kind of sideways or even upward movement Sunday night going into Monday, then I think we're going to see some weakness like probably Tuesday-ish, Wednesday maybe we'll see some weakness creep in there. Now, whether or not it happens intraday or not, I don't know. It could be overnight sessions, but we'll keep an eye on that. Okay, but just going back over here, guys, look how it came down and touched the 50-hour. Okay, let me just scroll back a little bit here. So you can see here it pierced through the 50-hour, kind of touching it here. There's some stuff going on back there. But once it got above it, guys, okay, and how do we, you know, I talked about this, as a matter of fact, if you didn't watch my last video about the $1,800 swing trade, you really should watch it. It's very powerful. A lot of people don't really understand the anatomy of a swing trade, how you really make money in the stock market, okay? I don't talk about this a lot because I just do my thing. Okay, I usually talk about cycles and on bigger time frames, but you know, so anyway, you're getting a little bit of an insight on some of the things that I may do, that I do like that I do, but I don't necessarily always talk about, okay? But you can see back here, guys, that you know, that was last Monday. You can see the SMI broke above it came up, stayed above the zero line, the purple line, and it went positive, okay? But the SMI at that point was very peaky, right? So the SMI and the Big Daddy are peaky, but long term, the MACD is telling you there's strength, but it isn't there yet. And why? Because you gotta wait for shorter term indicators to tell you what's going to happen. So what happens? It pulls down here. It shows up. I mean, it doesn't show up big in pricing, right? But it shows up a little bit. Some red candlesticks come down and touch, and that's what we're looking for. Okay, comes down and touch. So that's probably what? Yeah, 8 a.m. in the morning. See, 7, 8 a.m. in the morning, just before intraday. And that's what we're looking for. That's really strong confirmation. I talk about it all the time on this channel, confirmation. Okay. It comes down and touches, and remember, this is the hourly chart. Okay, the SMI has already given us a heads up that things look strong. Again, above the zero line. In this case, I got a purple line. It's above the zero line. The blue is above the vanilla. In other words, this number is greater than that number. Okay? We touch, it gets above the 50-hour, and what does it do? Well, it's off to the races, guys and gals. And this is where you would put in a trade right here. You'd open long on the futures. Okay? If you want to trade the SPY and all that, that's fine too. You guys, you're people that trade the ETFs, and you know, you do your thing there. I get it. Not everybody's going to trade futures. That's fine. But this is where you would go long. Okay? And how long do you stay into it? Well, okay, the art of a swing trade, right? I just talked about that in the last video. You really need to go watch the art. I didn't call it the art of a swing trade. That's basically what that video is. It's called the $1,800 swing trade, I think. Okay, I'll put a link in the description below this video. Go watch it. It's really going to help you to be a profitable trader, okay? But just touch on that really briefly right here. Well, it's clear that we've got strength in the SMI, and it stays strong for quite a while. And the MACD's, very strong. You can see there's a big gap there between the blue and vanilla lines. Okay, so if you got in right there, just stay all the way, all the way. Yeah, there's a few little times in there that things get a little sketchy, like you get this few hours right here that go down. Okay, but that's late at night. If you're up, okay, probably better that you're not up. You should be sleeping, so you just put in your risk management orders. Okay, risk management, guys, talk about it all the time. Yes, you must have your stop loss orders in place in case things really work against you, especially when you're doing a sleepy. Okay, futures traders is what we deal with all the time. SPY trader, intraday traders. Okay, you guys don't deal with this stuff, I guess, but maybe you do. Maybe, yeah, I guess I shouldn't say that. If you're long, yeah, you're holding long, you guys are dealing with it too. Okay, so anyway, whatever. Put in your stop losses. Don't leave your positions hanging out there. Okay, and you can put in your trailing stops too to lock in your profits. Okay, that's a really good idea. I talk about that all the time. But in any case, getting back to this, I'm going to finish up with this. You would stay in this trade from here. You'd stay in the whole time. You're still in the trade. You're still in the trade, okay? Now, it's going to be really difficult to know that this was the last candlestick before you close your position, okay? It's difficult to know. So how are you going to know? Well, if you're going to be, more than likely, guys, this candlestick right here would get my attention because it's a very doji looking candlestick. Okay. Now, granted, that's 8 o'clock at night, so I'm up, but you don't always have the opportunity to be up when these kind of things happen. Okay, but I would be up at this hour. I'd see that candlestick. I'd pay very close attention, especially to the SMI, which has been showing a lot of strength at this time. Right, still showing strength. And then somewhere about right here, I'd notice the SMI starting to look weak, and Big Daddy for sure. And there are other indicators, guys, that may not do exactly what Big Daddy does, but they're there. Just go find it, okay? Do your homework. Don't be a bunch of crybabies, okay? Don't be a bunch of whiners. Go get the right indicators that help you with fast moving, that are very reactive to price movement, okay? They're available. Just do your homework. Find them. Okay. In any case, you can see this begins to taper off, and then I would see the SMIs beginning to show some weakness. And guess what, guys? I closed the trade right there. And yeah, you could probably do some automated orders with some conditional stuff. If you worked on it, this could probably close out for you automatically. Okay. Okay, so here we are, guys. We're looking at the E Micro S&P 500 right here. These are the E Micros. Okay. Now I looked at the chart again. The entry was at 45.38.75. Okay, and we got out at 45.69 and a quarter. Okay, there's your profit. This is on 10 contracts. Okay, so that's $1,500 profit. Okay, on the E Micro 10 contracts. Okay, there are the 10 contracts. I just moved the spreadsheet to the left. Here are the 10 contracts. This is what you need in margin. If you don't have that, fine, you do have that. If you don't have that kind of money margin in your account, fine, you have that. Okay, if you start getting below that, fine, then do one contract. Okay, what would one contract yield you on that swing trade? $152. Okay, that's what you would have gotten out of that swing trade on one contract. Okay, so it depends on your account size. Just adjust your account size. Okay, obviously if you're dealing with one contract, it's touch and go, right? The PL is going to be moving up and down. You really got to have a little bit more of a stomach for it, but that's trading. Okay, that's the anatomy of a swing trade. Okay, so this type of trade, guys, that we entered, well, here would probably be the better of the two entries, but you could also enter right here because I got above the 50. I think that's where I took it on the spreadsheet. Take your pick, either right there because it bounced above the 50, even though that's a little bit riskier, but we're looking at that. I think when I originally talked about it, yeah, I think I did talk about right here, so that's what the spreadsheet was calculated on. But, there's two places you can enter there. You can enter there, or if you wanted to be a little more patient, you'd enter on this one. Okay? And then we got out right there. Obviously more profit from back here compared to here, but either way, they're both profitable trades. Okay, and this plays out over and over again. Over and over again. Would you trade long in this time frame right here? I mean, let's say we're right here. Would you trade long? Well, you wouldn't. You don't have foresight, right? You only have hindsight. We don't know the future. But everything should be telling you, based on what you're seeing here, this is not a good time to go long. Right? Prices may be moving up, but the indicators are telling you something's going on. And you can see the MACD's beginning to say, whoa, 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 hold on. Okay, so it doesn't take, it's not rocket science. Okay, just because, yes, above the 50-hour moving average and 50-day, yes, that's very important. We do trade above and below the 50 moving average. Okay, but we don't ignore what the signals are telling us, right? So you wouldn't be trading long here once you start seeing this weakness come in. You just wait. That's right. You literally have to wait all the way through this, all the way down, pierces below the zero line on the MACD. Okay, this is longer term trend. This is helping you understand longer term. This is hours. We're looking at hours. Okay, we're still below now we're below the 50. You don't want to be touching that. Okay, I wouldn't really. You could short side trade maybe somewhere right around there. Okay, I wouldn't really recommend it when you're above the 50. I wouldn't recommend trading short above the 50. Okay, but we'll talk about that some other time. Okay. Here you start seeing some strength come back in, but look at this, you're still well below. Okay, you really got to be careful. Right, this candlestick right here that pops above the 50. Okay, yeah, it's not a bad trade. Okay, but weakness came right back in, like right away. Came right back in. And you'd have to really be aware. In this case, got a fast moving signals are telling you something's up. Okay? But this is where, and I've been promising to close this video for a while, so I'm going to close it right here. But this is where you need to really be aware of the daily chart so that you don't overtrade. Okay? And the daily chart's telling you, don't sweat it, because it's well above the 50. So the anatomy of a swing trade, you need to be aware of multiple time frames. You need to be aware that the daily chart's showing you huge strength, lots of positive strength, all the way back from October 15th. There was no reason not to close this at any time. There was no reason to close this trade from October 15th all the way to where we're at now. No reason. Now, I mean, okay, not entirely true. This candlestick here and this candlestick could give you some pause. Okay, but even if you closed out, even if you got in right there and closed out there, guys, trust me, you made a lot of money. We're talking huge, thousands of dollars. Okay, all right, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe. Okay, click the thumbs up. I really appreciate it. And don't forget to click that little bell to be notified of all the videos that put them out. Talk to you all real soon again next time.